So this will be a final goodbye to this dope office space since I've got to tear it all down in about a month or two to make way for my second kid. But what that means is that I still have 2 more months to really enjoy the space and make some final upgrades and one last desk setup video. This office is quite actually my dream space in its current form for both console and PC gaming, as well as a whole ton of content creation. For once, I'm not trying to pursue a minimal setup and just something that has everything I need that looks great. I will have everything timestamped and linked down below in the video description if you do want to check it out, and I do also want to give a huge thanks to OBSBOT for sponsoring today's video, but more on them in a bit. I will say none of this setup is remotely possible without an absolutely incredible desk, which is where I do want to start. Now this technically isn't a desk, but rather some drawer units and some kitchen countertops. It's by no means unique either, since this combo is insanely popular online, but for good reason. In terms of what you're getting, you've got a crap ton of organizational options, alongside an incredible aesthetic and a whole lot of functional space. For the bottom side here, I've got 3 Alex drawers and 2 Adil's legs. And a quick reality check too, these drawers are all super messy, but really do provide a ton of storage if you are willing to keep things in check. Quality wise though, they do get the job done super well for just about anything I'd want to store. On top of these though are the 2 Carly countertops, which are actually insanely solid. Now they're not impervious to damage at all, but the nicks and dings picked up over time are just some added character, and I don't really hate on them too much. Just know that wood is still wood. My finish of choice though is walnut, which really goes well with the other items in my setup, which I will get to. There are some other things to consider as well, like the desktop might shift over time depending on how you set it up, or other things might just not sit so perfectly. But that's more of a me problem and not really an issue with the desk itself. What really does it for me though is the monitor sitting on the left side of my setup, which is actually not a monitor but rather a TV. For some people it might be a little bit too big, but this is quite actually one of the best displays I've used, and there's some unique benefits to using this TV versus a monitor. Off the bat, just the spec sheet alone lines up perfectly for all of my creative work and console gaming. This does have a 4K display with a 120Hz refresh rate, and one of the more hard to find features is actually having a glossy coating, whereas normal monitors typically have a matte finish. It definitely comes down to your preference whether you like matte or glossy finish, but for myself right now I'm really enjoying glossy. And while it's definitely not for everyone, it does an absolute incredible job for gaming when I am using my consoles, and doing any sort of editing on here is simply immense. The 42-inch span of this display really lets me have a huge amount of my video timelines showing at all times. Something here as well is, since it is a TV, the speakers on here are practically unbeatable within the monitor space. Previously I was using the Apple Studio display, which on its own is an incredible monitor with an incredible set of speakers, but it doesn't support HDMI inputs for things like gaming consoles. Speaking of which, my go-to over the last year has definitely been the PlayStation 5, which legitimately has me shooketh to the bone with the quality of just about everything. I don't think consoles will ever quite catch up to having a dedicated gaming PC, but the overall experience is still something to be had. The PlayStation exclusives are quite legitimately some of the best games I've ever played, and each one of them is a spectacle. God of War Ragnarok, for example, just released their new Valhalla expansion, which is somehow free, and it's been an incredible time jumping back into this. I was absolutely surprised to see the amount of content in this DLC. But it's not just the exclusive games either. The overall experience with the DualSense controller for just about any game adds to the entire package. Consoles like this really make it easy to enjoy content as well, and simply having an all-in-one system like this is almost a must-have. Now on top of my C3 OLED, there are 2 cameras, one of which I will talk about in a bit, but the other is a webcam from my friends over at OBSBOT. Since I am no longer using my Apple Studio display in this setup, I'm actually losing the built-in webcam I did previously have, which will now be replaced by this Tiny 2 webcam. This is a versatile webcam with a ton of features, not to mention a really high quality 4K image. By comparison, here's what my built-in camera looks like on my MacBook Air, and here's what the Tiny 2 gets me. Feature-wise, it's rather full-packed, connecting through USB-C and connecting with this magnetic display mount. And if you really wanted to, you could also mount this with a tripod if you wanted to place it elsewhere. My favorite feature here has definitely got to be the AI tracking though. Trust me, you'll be flexing on everyone in Microsoft Teams, getting out of your seat and having your camera follow you. This also has great low light performance with its 1.5-inch sensor and a dual native ISO. Still, if you are doing any sort of showcasing, the autofocus here is ultra smooth, and there also is a microphone built right into the camera if you do need it. If you do want to dive into some of the AI features, you have the ability to control tracking and zoom with just a few gestures. And let's pretend like you're missing some digits, or maybe your arm is busted, you can also talk to the Tiny 2 with some voice commands.
Zoom in closer. Zoom out further.
And if you're a pro gamer like me, of course, and you're looking for a mouse and keyboard cam, this is definitely a great option with desk view so anybody can see how you're dropping those 12-year-olds in Overwatch. Check out the OBSBOT Tiny link down below in the video description, and thanks to them for sponsoring this portion of the video. Now, I actually recently tried out the M3 MacBook Pro, which is an absolutely beast of a machine, but I actually returned it in exchange for this refurbished 13-inch M2 MacBook Air, which was a good heck of a lot cheaper. This model I have actually has the maxed out RAM and storage configurations, which has been a huge upgrade for me either way. And while this specific MacBook is far from the most powerful, having released back in 2022, it's still been an absolute monster for my creative workflow. All of my 4K timelines are handled with absolute ease, and when it comes down to form factor, it's pretty much unbeatable. I'm really truly not sure why I prefer all the smaller Apple tech, but I did go from the iPhone 15 Pro to the 13 mini, the iPad Pro to the iPad mini, and of course the MacBook Pro to MacBook Air. The power to portability ratio for me wins almost every time. Still, when Apple does decide to upgrade their Mac Studio lineup to the M3 chip, I might grab one of those and simply never upgrade again. Either way, this MacBook has been super powerful for everything I need, and despite the fingerprints, the midnight blue still remains my favorite finish. Now, apart from that, I do still have an Xbox Series X on this setup, which is also an awesome way to get my gaming in. Like the PS5, you are going to be getting up to 4K at 120Hz in all its HDR glory. I don't care for the console wars people have, whether it's PlayStation or Xbox or PC, I just simply care for the good gaming experience. Give me Forza or Halo and I'm happy. Not to mention, Xbox Game Pass is one of the most impressive gaming services available, plain and simple. The library size is absolutely monstrous and there's always a game for everybody. While gaming though, nothing sets the mood better than some dope ass lighting, which I have scattered across my entire space. For the last couple years I have been using Nanoleaf products between light strips and light bulbs, and now I've recently added this Nanoleaf lines design on my wall alongside this light strip on the back of my TV, which syncs up everything for whatever's on my display. That's where this second camera comes in, which captures the colors on my screen and syncs it with the light strip. All these lights combined are also super handy for setting any sort of scenes I want in my entire space, or even just having a specific white color temperature when I'm filming videos. Now, coming down to my peripherals on this side of the desk setup, I am using the Magic Keyboard with Touch ID alongside Apple's Magic Trackpad. I really dig the low profile of each of these since it's really easy on my wrist since I'm practically a senior citizen now that I'm in my 30s. Plus, once you get used to having Touch ID, it's hard not to have it. I still do use a mouse though, which is the Logitech G604, which is simply a reliable option while editing, and it has a smooth infinite scroll wheel. Each of these are all sitting on top a Grovemade desk mat, which really helps break up the space. I know they are wildly expensive, but I haven't yet found anything like it in terms of quality, and I've always been a huge fan of their products. From Grovemade as well is this wooden vertical stand for my MacBook, which is a nice touch if you do want to have it vertically and get back some more of that desk space. Now, I know the display in this setup is on the larger side, but this smaller one off to the right side is actually an iPad mini 6. I primarily use this at a clock when I am at my desk, which is awesome for Pomodoro timers to keep myself accountable for both work and breaks. I also use this for note-taking, FaceTime calls, and watching game guides if I need to. The iPad stand itself is actually a foldable case from a company called Moft. It's just a versatile folio case for when I am on the go, and it acts as a stand. Overall, the iPad mini 6 is definitely my favorite iPad of all time, and I'm looking forward to their next refresh. Now, to actually keep this entire desk setup connected, I am using this Thunderbolt dock from BenQ, which is one of the few docks that can drive 4K displays over 60Hz. Of course, it connects everything from my webcam to my display, alongside anything else I need to plug in, all while giving me that single cable setup for my laptops. My MacBook Air does only have 2 ports, so this is almost a must-have for any Type A accessories. Jumping back to console gaming though, whenever I am hopping right in, I am using Sony's cheapest gaming headset they came out with a while back. These are the Sony H3s, and really, for the price, they're just surprisingly great. They're ultra lightweight, they sound good, and they're just reliable. They could definitely sound better, but it's just a sleeper product that's actually good. And while the mic on the headset is simply okay, I still need a good dedicated mic whenever I am doing voiceovers for videos, so I am using this inexpensive one from Fifine. Similar to the Sony headset, it punches way above its price point and even has XLR connectivity if you need it. There is a matching mixer for that I haven't yet set up, but even through Type-C connection, it does an excellent job. And while the TV side is meant for a whole lot of work and gaming, this other side of the setup is meant for my competitive PC gaming. And just like me, my custom-built PC is tired and decrepit at this point. It does an incredible job nonetheless and looks awesome from the outside. The case is a Fractal North case coming in with a black and walnut finish, and inside is a dated RTX 2070, 16 gigs of RAM, and an i7. And while my hardware is about 5 years old at this point, it still gives me a cozy 240Hz at up to 1440p, depending on what I'm playing. I think I will be making the jump to 4K high refresh gaming in 2024, so this system will definitely see a good refresh. Connected up to this PC though is my 27-inch 240Hz OLED from LG. Similar to the TV as a monitor, it does have an incredible picture quality and a ridiculously low response time at 1440p. Of course, while I love my console gaming, my competitive side comes out in Overwatch where I'm actually somehow good. I'm currently ranked in Grandmasters and slap 12-year-olds daily. Still, when I need to, I am able to get work done on this side as well. This setup also has a Thunderbolt dock, but it does come with an SD card reader, which I am missing from my MacBook Air. On top of this monitor though is the BenQ Halo light bar, which gives a nice ambient light to this space day or night. I can control it with this wireless puck, which does allow me to turn it on and off, change the light temperature as well as the brightness. If this broke today for any reason, I'd probably have one on order right away. Now to each side of my monitor though is a set of Kanto U4 speakers. I can't say they're particularly inexpensive, but they are quite excellent for connectivity and quality. These do support auxiliary connection, Bluetooth, as well as RCA. I frequently connect my iPad or iPhone to these speakers, which also can swap to whatever is on my monitor, as well as my Audio-Technica record player. Now, as much as I am a tech head, I truly love the analog feel and sound of vinyl. There's just something special about collecting, feeling, and throwing on a record while gaming or working. For me, it's just nice to not always listen to playlists and actually finish an album start to finish. When it comes down to the peripherals on this side of my desk setup, starting with my mouse, I'm using the Corsair Guitar. Honestly, it's just lightweight, reliable, and feels good in hand. I can't really ask for much more than that. For my keyboard though, this very well might be one of my favorite keyboards of all time. I've become a huge fan of low profile mechanicals, and this one sounds like soft rain on a tent. Truly, I absolutely love this keyboard. Now to round out the rest of the space, I am using some more Grovemade accessories, a headphone stand for my Sony XM5s, a MagSafe charging stand, as well as a notepad and pen. Pen on paper for me is still an incredible way to empty my brain at all times. So that's my space. I know this video was a bit longer than normal, but for anybody who did stick out to the end, I really do appreciate you spending your time in my space. Again, I will have everything linked down below in the video description if you do want to check it out. I'm looking forward to using this space while I still can, but if you do have any other questions on the space, please lay it on me. Anyways, that's been it. Thanks for watching. Till next time.